Well, it's time to begin part 5 radio communications. I'm sure all of us have used radios in one form or the other in our daily duties as an EMT. Not much has changed though. This is going to be mainly a review over our radio communications that we went over in EMT school. So, base station radios, this is any radio hardware containing a transmitter and receiver that is affixed to one specific location. This is mainly going to be where your dispatch center is and probably your headquarters. Mobile radios are installed in your vehicle and they're used to communicate with your dispatcher or medical control centers. Then you have your portable radios. These are your handheld devices. And this is what we're going to utilize when we're away from our ambulances to communicate with either dispatch, other units, medical control, or other responding agencies that are coming to help us. Now there's several different systems set up that radios use. One of the very popular one is the repeater-based system. And a repeater-based system requires that you have a special base station radio that receives message signals on one frequency and then it automatically retransmits on a different frequency. And you may have this from tower to tower, so your signal may be repeated from your ambulance to a tower, to another tower, to another tower, and then finally to its destination. And this is why sometimes whenever you hear units talking on the radio, you will notice that there's a 1 or 2 second delay. Something that is just really started taking hold is the digital equipment, and pretty much everyone's going to it because it's a bit more reliable. And we're able to utilize this for more than just voice. We're able to utilize it to transmit things like our EKGs from one unit to the base station or to a hospital somewhere, or even multiple hospitals. Sometimes they're set up to go from one hospital, which is your receiving facility, and then to a base station, which is your medical control, so for quality assurance. Cellular and satellite telephones. Mostly cellular is more popular than satellite. Satellite's very expensive. Most ambulances nowadays have a cellular phone attached to them, or either a lot of people have their own cellular phones. The problem with cellular phones is that a lot of times they're not recorded lines. So if you're utilizing a cellular phone, you may need to be patched through your dispatch center so that the line is recorded, especially if you are receiving orders from a physician. Your satellite phones, you need to be very careful about patient privacy, so you do not want to reveal any information that can identify your patient because these can be picked up on some scanners. Other communications equipment. Most ambulances have a PA system. The PA system is to be used for official uses, not to play around. And be careful what you say because you never know. Your PA system could be activated and the whole world may be listening to what you are saying. So make sure you stay professional at all times. Mobile data terminals, these are located inside the ambulances and they come in a variety of forms. The one that you have there is an older MDT, as we call them. Most of them nowadays are just like laptop computers and they receive data directly from your dispatch center, so you will actually see what's coming into dispatch, and they are set up with a very extensive database so that you can see your route that you need to take to get to the call through GPS. You can even see makeups of large buildings, so like a lot of your industry, you can actually look and see, like using a map for where you need to go in big industrial complexes. Another advantage to the MDTs is that you can sometimes see past histories based off that address or even that patient. So you can get an idea of what you're getting into before you even get there. Now, the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, is the regulatory agency that regulates radio operations. They do have people monitoring, and anything you say or do over the radio system is subject to their regulations. So, which means that if you say a curse word that is not kosher with the FCC's regulations, you could end up being fined, and so same thing with your agency. The FCC also requires that every so often a broadcast be made that says who owns that channel. Most of the time this is done in Morse code, so that's why you'll hear that Morse code going through. They also regulate who owns what radio frequencies or what radio frequencies you can utilize. They license base stations, and they also assign all the call signs. So, what you need to understand going into your exam, especially for the National Registry, is you need to understand that the FCC is the agency that sets the standards for licensing. They also set operating specifications and limitations on the transmitter output wattage so that your transmitter is not encroaching on someone else's radio space. And they monitor radio operations. So notification, all EMS systems depend on skilled dispatchers to receive calls and to tell you where to go and what's going on. So big dispatch centers have call takers who will take the call, and then they'll route that information to dispatchers who will then dispatch the call. But usually as the call takers are taking the information, if you have MDT in your ambulance, then you'll be able to see that information. They're also the ones that are going to choose the appropriate response units and which agency and who goes to the call. So dispatch is going to communicate with headquarters and responding EMS teams depending on how your system's set up. They're going to be the coordinating entity that's going to coordinate other responses that you may need or is known to need to go there. For instance, if it's a car wreck, they're going to coordinate the agencies for fire and PD. And if you need a helicopter to come, you would most of the time contact dispatch and they would coordinate that too. They're going to give you information regarding the incident. And just make sure that you inform dispatch of everything you're doing. Inform them when you're en route, when you get on scene, when you leave the scene, when you get at the hospital, and when you go in service. So en route communications, so once you're underway, the dispatcher may phone caller for additional information, so they may get you en route, but they may not know all the details yet. They just want to get you en route so that you can get to the scene sooner, and then they'll fill you in on the way, and they'll relay all the information that they have before you get on scene, hopefully. Remember, dispatchers may give pre-arrival instructions to callers, so their hands may get tied up, and just remember that dispatchers, there's only a handful of dispatchers, and they may be receiving hundreds of calls a day, which may make it very difficult for them. So have some patience with them. So during transport, you'll communicate with the receiving hospital. You need to let them know what to expect. A lot of hospitals may have like a template of information that they want to know, which is a minimum set. Just remember to keep it as brief but as specific as possible, because you may have another unit that's trying to get on the radio to give their report too. If you reassess your patient and their conditions change, you may need to call them ahead again and report those changes. And some services transmit PCR data to the emergency department. I talked about that a little in the last lecture, that sometimes, and in the very beginning, that we can use the digital system to transmit our information back and forth to the hospitals, including your patient care reports, and that patient care report can also be streamlined to your billing centers and so on. Well, this concludes part 5, and the next part will be won't be communicating with will be more. Well, the next part will be messed up that slide somewhere. So we will get into communicating with hospitals for part 6. So thank you very much.